Morning, and let's work together to make this the best morning of your life, because congratulations, you have made the best decision of your Sunday morning to join me, and let's talk about all the wonderful things. We're going to address a couple of funny and annoying things from some of the extremists on the far left. But in general, if you saw what my live stream yesterday, you should be coming to the conclusion that things are getting a lot better. And actually, last night, I was on the phone. I was a bunch of people on the phone all night. But I was on the phone with a friend of mine in the United States. I don't know if I should say her name, who is politically, I guess, connected and has a public profile. And she's very doomsday. The world's ending. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Everything's going well, and everything's getting better. And I think after a while, she's still, it's so funny, she's still dismissive. No, it's all going to crap. But I could tell I was starting to at least make her think a little bit. And that's what we're going to try to do here. And that's what's going to allow you to have all of these amazing days. Oh, and somebody mentioned the treadmill behind me, the treadmill that I can't use. And why is it there? Because this would double as kind of a little exercise studio, or at least cardio, running and stuff like that. But then I broke my ankle, and I can barely walk on that thing right now. So I am going to do a little bit of change. If you have any subtle changes you recommend, Jennifer has already made some suggestions for me, and has some sort of surprise for me. I'm not sure what it is, but we'll find out. And so if you have any, anything you want to add or comments you want to make or whatever, let me know. Good morning, Amanda. Kiss Junkie, I believe you about things getting better. And the thing is, because we're trapped into this binary worldview that we always think things need to be better means it's perfect. It's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be noise. There's always going to be adversaries on the other side, no matter what. But I think we've hit a peak in terms of clown world, and things will start to feel will start to look better. And like, for example, something that should make you all feel better is Honking for Freedom. For those of you who have not read it yet, I know some of you in here have already read it and have commented and love it and support it and have gotten the word out. I'm trying to do the same. Please do let me know. Stocking stuffers, this could be the gift for your progressive friends. This is what hopefully will remind them of all the things they espouse but don't believe in: peace, love, unity, and freedom. And hopefully this will help wake them up a little bit. At least that's kind of my goal. Yesterday I did an interview quite late in the evening, just around dinner time. That was very, very good. And I think it went well. And that should be out sometime this week. Connection problems. And I don't know, I have a bunch of things lined up this week. Everything's in my schedule now at this point. I have no idea. So if you see me on the news somewhere in the U.S., that was my interview. So there you go. Good morning, David. Good to see you, brother, from Spruce Grove, Alberta. We were talking yesterday, David, during the stream about that sort of division between urban centers and rural centers, and that I think one of the main problems we've seen is all the governance much of the governance is run from urban centers. And I don't mean processing offices. I mean like the actual decision makers, and they've completely ignored rural communities, and that's all over the world. That's not just in Canada. That's also happening all across Europe, in France, in Spain, in Latin America. The same thing here as well. So that's why the problems seem to be consistent from country to country, because it's the same process of governance that's quite failing. But anyways, the other thing that's positive, I think, is, have you seen that dumpster fire that Elon Musk has ignited at Twitter? Isn't that amazing? Like, how that, I think of all the things that Elon Musk has done, whether you like him or not, or agree with his stance on electric cars or not. I like both electric cars and, as I call them, fossils. Personally, give me a supercharged V8 with a stick any day over an electric car. And I've driven every Tesla, and they're amazing. They really are amazing cars. I do quite like them. But nothing beats a Corvette with a blower. That's just kind of my opinion. But so Elon Musk, what's happened to Twitter? You see there's going to be this friction that goes on for a while as he restructures it. And, there's some people who are unhappy. There are people who've left and came back. I think it was it CBS News, I think, said they deleted their Twitter account and then they reactivated it the next day because it's become the primary tool that they're all using. They have no choice. David, yes, Elon Musk may have saved America and the conservative movement. Well, I think it's more than that. I think Elon, not only has he potentially saved all movements, conservative movements, and let's remember liberals who, we don't agree with, but they're not necessarily insane. They've been hijacked by these veiled communists called progressives, right? So I think he might have saved both of these camps, and around the issue of free speech is the primary thing that I think he has saved. So, so there you go. Jesse, perfect example. I'm not a fan of Elon Musk, but go Elon. He is he's doing a lot of good for us. I personally like him. I also understand why people don't. Like, I get it. I understand. But yeah, we're all starting to come together and find common ground when we disagree on some fundamental things. And that's a reason to be happy. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. And also, is that not a sign that the reign of woke supremacy is coming to an end? Like, it's done, right? It's just a matter of time now. They'll be kicking and screaming for a little while, several years, in fact, but their institutional power is going to wane over time as more and more rational people just want to go back to pragmatism and objectivism. And I know there's people that kind of worry about that phrase, think we're not objective, and that's another issue, but Kiss Junkie says, that's what on Locals, says, that's what I was talking about yesterday, a tweet from Matt Taibbi. So yeah, Matt Taibbi is somebody who, like, I probably don't agree with on political policy on many, many things. But Matt Taibbi is the type of journalist that I think is pretty honest and would debate with people on the other side, right? That's what we need to go back to. So those people, they want to hear the conservatives speak as well. So I don't know. This is all amazing stuff. Things are getting amazing, are getting great. Alberta Blue Sky, good morning from Balmy de Winton, Alberta, where we love Danielle. Where is that? Where I know I've been through rural Alberta a couple of times as I went to what's it called, Medicine Hat and Lloydminster and Grand Prairie and stuff like that. But where is that? I'm not sure. Let me know. So yesterday, so we're going to get into this debate issue. So park the debate thing. Just a little tidbit. I popped this on Twitter yesterday. Just a little side note. I went into the Royal Bank yesterday, and it's not my primary bank. I haven't used it in years, really. I just have an account there that just kind of sits there. And I'm no fan of the Royal Bank. So I go into the bank, and I go to, I'm sure I needed to throw in some money in the account and whatever fees and blah, blah, blah. So I go into the Royal Bank. I hit the machine to enter my client ID card and deposit money. Now, this is the third time this has happened. I've been trying to do this for a few weeks. But I've been so busy I couldn't deal with it, and I don't really care. Again, it's not my primary bank. So it spits out the money, and it says, you know what? I don't remember the error it says. I can actually post this. I should have posted this on Twitter when I talked about it. So it posted an error saying transaction canceled, and has my checking number, can't be used. Please remove your items from the slot, and gives the money back. That's a different message. Previously, I had another message saying, there was an error, but wasn't that specific. Okay. So this time, finally, the bank is open next to the machine. So I'm like, you know what? I have like a few minutes to kill. There's no line. I'll go inside. So I go inside, go talk to the girl. She was lovely. She was absolutely wonderful. And I said, what's going on here? Like, I can't, is there something wrong with my client card? And she says, oh, you need it. First she says, I think you need a new client card. It looks like it's kind of old. It's okay, that's cool. And then she pulls up my file, and then her face turns like stone cold. Not stone cold. She just had, she was in shock. I'm like, what's the matter? She said, it's telling me your bank account is frozen because of the Emergency Measures Act. So I, of course, laughed. Like, oh, it's only been 10 months. 10 months, and the Royal Bank still has my bank account frozen. She's like, yeah, that's not weird. And then I spoke to her a little bit, and turns out she was a supporter of the Convoy. And I said, you're pretty happy you're not wearing a mask now, right? And she says, oh, thank you so much. And I'm like, listen, this is a sacrifice you had to make, so you can see it in the flesh that my account is still frozen. So, I mean, I've hated the Royal Bank for a long time. They really suck. And, well, there you go. So, what could you really do at that point? And so she says, well, do you have a lawyer? I'm like, do I have a lawyer? Do you have any idea how many lawyers I have right now? And she said, well, I guess you can get your lawyer to call the head office and blah, blah, blah. And I said, I have an idea. Can you just cancel all my accounts with Royal Bank? And she said, and she looks and she calls her manager. She looks and like, and the manager was confused as well. She comes and she's like, I don't understand. I'm like, I know you don't understand. Don't worry. And she asked her, she said, we can cancel the account now, right? And she says, yeah, I think so. I'm like, just cancel it. Just cancel everything. And they can go F themselves. So there you go, Royal Bank of Canada. So if you ever want a bank that is the most authoritarian and in line with the government's abuse of powers, I give you the Royal Bank. So, and the other thing I wanted to say about that. So there was a Substack article I posted a few months ago. I had Mark Petroni draft the article about the letter that I received from Scotiabank. Now, what's the significance of that? When my bank account was frozen, I sent an email to Scotiabank and to TD and to another bank, to the presidents of the banks to say, hey guys, why is my account frozen? And I CC'd a bunch of lawyers. Well, Scotiabank was the only one that responded. They responded on, if I remember correctly, March the 6th. And the reason and what they did is they inferred that it was the government. It was under the direction of the RCMP, and they're just, they're comply, non-compliance, comply, that sort of one of those letters. And, okay, fine. So that was in March. So I waited until there was the opportunity, because I knew this would come up at some point, because I knew what the rats are like in politics, that they would all start to blame each other. And during those parliamentary hearings, what happened? Krista Freeland tried to blame the banks and said, oh, they did it on their own accord. That's when I had Mark Petroni draft the article to post on my Substack, BJdichter.substack.com, and post the letter that Scotiabank apologized. And it was picked up by Daily Wire and Zero Hedge and a bunch of publications in the States. And my point of that was not actually to be adversarial towards Scotiabank, to believe it or not. They at least had the courtesy to respond to me and kind of clued me in that it wasn't them. It was, at least from their perspective, that it was the government. And, I have friends in the financial services industry, obviously, and I'm going to have to get my charger in a second. And I couldn't help think, but is this a sort of over-regulation? Is this the natural conclusion of the excessive over-regulation that the banking sector has been complaining about for generations? That finally the government, like a bunch of fascistic a-holes, can just dictate to what the government does, what the banking sector does. If they want your bank account frozen, they'll get your bank account frozen. And it seems to be the Royal Bank is the one who's most in line with that. And that might be because so much of our debt is civil debt is held by the Royal Bank in Canada, by the way. I'm sure a lot of you didn't know that. But anyways, 1 second. I got to get my charger, okay? I should put on some mood music, but I'll get a copyright strike. 1 second. I'm back. My everybody on locals, I don't understand why. I had the iPad charging all night, and all I did was charge my Apple Pencil, and for some reason it says you have like 0 battery life yet. So let me just turn down that a little bit, and all right, I think we're good. We're back. Okay, so that's just kind of, my thoughts on that. Perhaps, okay, what we got? We're getting all banks suck and have for many years. That's just the proof. Yeah, I mean, I think part of the problem is, what do we got? 5, 6 main banks in Canada, and our Bank Act just protects all those banks, whereas the United States, you have regional banks all over the place, Europe as well. I met somebody in Miami many years ago who had a chain of, I think, 10 banks across Europe, and it's kind of his small business, if you will. But Canadians, I don't know what's with us. We love centralized control, and it's really got to stop. We need to wake up philosophically as Canadians, but the Americans get it. We don't, but it is what it is. We both have our strengths and weaknesses. Warren, good morning from Saskatoon. I love Saskatoon. That's a really pretty little town. When I was out in West, and a little town. It's a city, similar to the size of the cities I go to in the U.S. when I go trucking. But it's quite pretty. It's really nice, and I'd like to go back and spend some time there, to be entirely honest. D2 is from sunny PEI, and it's sunny here as well. Beautiful part of the country that I have not been to. My brother, I think I mentioned before, one of my brothers was one of my biological brother was spent his life growing up and spending his summers in PEI, and he loves it. Still goes regularly when he can. I did some research on DuckDuckGo, who owns the Bank of Canada, etc. The Bank of Canada is controlled by the Bank of International Settlements. Vanguard is the second largest shareholder of BMO. The Royal Bank is the largest shareholder of BMO, and the cabal is real. That's not entirely accurate. Okay, so the Bank of Canada is much like in the U.S. It's an agent of the government. Okay, they're a member of the Bank of International Settlements. George Gammons does some videos on this that explains it. He's leading that lawsuit against the Federal Reserve in the United States. So the Bank of International Settlements is this membership body and a bank that all these central banks are members of. It's not, Vanguard doesn't control it, right? I got to go to, I'm going to have to do a whole episode on this because it's quite complicated. If we're going to, people often take these very intricate legal structures and oversimplify it. And I think I'm not saying you're entirely wrong and that there may not be, nefarious motives, but I don't think it's necessarily nefarious motives that we have. At the end of the day, everybody in banking is a capitalist, minus maybe Soros and a few other people of that whole group. Well, Soros is basically a vegetable, but it's his kids that run everything now, which is why it's all going to fall apart, and we don't have to really worry about him anyways. But it's complex, so I understand what you're getting at, but let's talk about banking another time, because today we're going to talk about positive things. So I mentioned debating before. There was a monk debate in, I think it was held in Toronto, if I'm not mistaken. I just saw little clippets from it. And one of my, intellectual heroes was speaking there. I didn't realize that. And his name is Douglas Murray. And if you don't know Douglas Murray is a national treasure of England. He really is. His book, The Strange Death of Europe, is absolutely amazing. I've read not all of, but a little bit of The Madness of Crowds. It's on my list of books I now listen to books while I'm in the truck because I don't have time to sit and read all the time. But Madness of Crowds is next on my list, and I've started a little bit of it. He's absolutely brilliant. And, what an honor it was he didn't mention me by name, but, he was going through all the smears and attacking the legacy media and saying in these sorts of scenarios, like the trucker convoy, what the legacy media is supposed to do is they're supposed to report on it, right? They're not supposed to regurgitate. These are not his words. These are my, my interpretation of his words. And, he went through all the typical smears that come from the political class that get regurgitated by the media. They're racist, they're homophobe, they're bigots, you name it. And he went through, the many the inaccuracies of it. And one of the things he said is, that they were anti-Semitic despite one of the organizers happened to be Jewish. And that was all of us. I mean, Tamara was Métis. He mentioned the women, the clan mums, who had the ceremonies before our Sunday services led by Pastor Hildebrand, of which there were many different denominations and religions in the crowd. People of all sorts of faith were there. It was, obviously Pastor Hildebrand's supporters were there, but it was inclusive of all faiths. And it was beautiful to see all these people of different faiths to come together on a Sunday morning to talk about the importance that faith has in their lives. And but these are all the things that they miss. These are all the things that the media would not report on because it was all just about a smear. And Douglas Murray's takedown of the legacy media was absolutely epic. And I think I retweeted it somewhere on Twitter, but it's all over the place. You can find it. And that's exactly why Douglas Murray is such a treasure. And I remember 2 or 3 years ago, he was involved in a panel in England, and the whole premise of his argument is, have we had enough diversity? And he explains why that is so dangerous. I mean, diversity, you can remove the word diversity, like when people like, Anti-Hate Network or whatever say the word diversity, just replace the word racism. That's because that's what they're advocating for, right? Racism is our strength. That's what Prime Minister Blackface is saying. That's why I call him the most racist person to hold office in Canadian history, because their underlying philosophy is pure, aggressive racism, but it's with an out-group preference as opposed to an in-group preference. But they're the same as the KKK. They're no different from a philosophical standpoint. So anyways, Douglas Murray, check it out. He's absolutely amazing, and you will all love it. And what he was getting at is the media doesn't cover any of this stuff, right? The media, all they did was regurgitate talking points from the government, which were all smears, but they didn't talk about the grievances from the trucker convoy. And I knew that. That's why during the press conferences I banned them all, and I focused just on alternative media, because despite the fact that some people who, as now we know, were sabotaging us, just kept running for the legacy media. And now they're pivoting and saying, I'm not, Tom Razzo comes out of the hearing, I'm not talking to legacy media. I'm like, you fucking asshole. Every day during the convoy, he was running like a little bitch to the legacy media. And I kept telling them, get him to stop sabotaging my media strategy. Now he's like, I'm not talking. Fuck. Anyways, what a bunch of... Anyways, so the point is, legacy media wasn't going to cover that, and I knew that, right? But something else that's interesting. We just had a commission for, 6 weeks? 5-6 weeks? You notice the legacy media didn't cover it? Like it wasn't aired anywhere? It was aired on alternative media because it was aired on the POEC website. But how many times do you see these sorts of commissions? I mean, this is martial law in Canada. Canada's equivalent of martial law was invoked. If it was done on the other side, the Conservatives, if the Conservatives had done it, then the legacy media would have been airing it 24 hours a day. Those panelists of losers on CBC, what's that, Chantel, the girl looks like a man, and some other people, they'd be just crowing all day long about the commission and the importance of the commission and whatever. They didn't do any of that. Nothing. Right? They're all so full of crap. So that just proves Douglas Murray's point. right? That not only did they not cover it, and the only thing I saw was I saw a CTV thing pop up of my my confrontation with one of the collaborators, Brendan, and when he was attacking me. By the way, that was supposed to be technically my lawyer from the perspective as a member of the board. That's my lawyer trying to fabricate a what's it called? Trying to fabricate a conspiracy around me because of tweets. My lawyer. So that's the collaborator. So the only thing that they showed on CTV was my interaction with the collaborator. They might have shown some other stuff. I don't know. Oh, yeah, they also showed when our dummy lawyers, the closing statement when Eva finished off with, if there was ever a time for a prime minister to resign, it's now. And then all of us who know how these procedures work, we're just collective cringe. Like, you fucking idiot. This is a legal process. This is not a political. This is not the place for it. But she was running a yoga studio at the beginning of COVID. So perfect person to be interrogating the prime minister. Like, and now they replaced their lawyer. Anyways, whatever. I'll talk more about that as things go along. But those are the grifters and whatever. Jesse, I love that you're such a straight talker. You make my mornings. Well, because everybody else bullshits, right? That's not fun. Life is more interesting and more entertaining when we're just honest with one another. So it's great. Damus, thanks, brother. Hey, everybody in chat, don't forget to like this live. Help BJ out. I appreciate it, man. I saw your message yesterday. I'm so busy. I not a spare second yesterday. Let me get through the week. I got a whole bunch of stuff. Let's reconnect at the end of the week, and maybe we can do something, okay? I appreciate it. Damus was reaching out to me, and I'm checking messages when I'm in my car parked after I got coffee about to drive. Like, it never stops right now, the flow. So anyways, Douglas Murray, national treasure, and a couple of years ago I was mentioning this. I'll see if I can find the link and post it on Twitter. Have we had enough diversity? A YouTuber actually kind of shortened the debate, just to about 10 minutes of Douglas Murray's talking points, and which was what's really important. It was very salient, and I don't think there's anybody here that would disagree with it. So, yeah. Oh, you can see you guys are all getting along with each other. I love that. You guys are, this is the best part, to see you all start to talk with each other in the live chat, whether it's here in Locals or here in the Facebook and other streams and YouTube. That's awesome. I like to see that. That's great. I'm getting to the point, this is from Amanda on Locals, I'm getting to the point where I cannot understand how people can still be blind to how the MSM contorts and twists the truth or just outright lies. Hey, listen, and this is not a new phenomenon. It's like, I have this whole X Games theory. When, during the 80s, we saw the X Games came out, and then all of a sudden, everything was extreme sports. So it couldn't be, car racing. It had to be car racing with, like, carnage and car accidents. It couldn't be, BMX biking. It had to be BMX biking where you're jumping, 50 feet in the air and you could potentially kill yourself. Everything has to be an extreme derivative of itself. And I think that's what's happened in media as well, because it's, there's this famous quote by Mark Twain. If you read the news, if you don't read the news, you're uninformed. If you read the news, you're misinformed. And we're going back to the 1800s. So this phenomenon is not new. It's just gotten, it's the extreme sports version of it is what we're seeing, I think, in my opinion. But it's all coming to an end. It's good. There's so many good stuff going on. So we talked yesterday about the woke supremacists. So Justin Trudeau, he's not a feminist. He's a woke supremacist. And very big difference, right? Anyway, we won't get into it, but me and Stephen Hicks were talking about feminism a long time ago, a few years ago. And, there's that distinction that most people, if you're not plugged into it, the difference between first wave, second wave, third wave feminism, and there's a lot of unique differences there. And my opinion, I know we're going off in this tangent, but I said the word, is, you know, the political class is always trying to shove this idea down our throat that the origins of the feminist movement was, you know, that women wanted equality. I don't think that's what it is. Women wanted freedom. They just wanted freedom to do whatever the hell they wanted, in terms of, you know, not having certain constraints. And listen, like, I spent a lot of time in Latin America, so I can see it's a lot more traditional values there. But it's all about, they just wanted freedom. They wanted to be able to, if they wanted to go to work, they could go to work. Like my mother was, I was a 2 working home. But if they decided they didn't want to and they wanted to raise a family, that's okay too. I don't think it was this whole rebranding of things, much like, you know, the retelling of history during the Freedom Convoy. It's the same thing. It's the same tactics that the lefties use, but the conservatives are using, which is to say it was about, it's just about equity. They went from equality then to equity, which is communism. No, they wanted freedom, and I'm glad that they got it. So that's why when people say, you know, they go into the feminist debate, I tend to stay quiet, because I understand the concerns about third wave. You know, me and Megan Murphy have become friends, and she was a very strident third wave feminist, and she's since, you know, retracted a little bit and realized that, you know, hey, maybe this is a little bit too extreme. And, you know, we talked about that privately. So I think we're getting to that golden era where we're all going to start talking to each other. We may disagree on certain nuance of opinions, but in the broader perspective, we're all in agreement around freedom, supporting each other, the right to free speech, the right to let stupid people say stupid things, and for us to decide if we want to respond or not, right? So anyways, so back to the woke supremacists who have been destroying our societies, woke supremacists like Justin Trudeau. I was listening to Scott Adams, who I've mentioned before, who I got into Scott Adams because of Robert Cialdini's books and other similar topics that I had learned about many years ago and wanted to get back to. You know, marketing kind of led me down that path. And, you know, he brought up this really profound, he does bring up some profound ideas. And one of them I want to share with you because I do think he's on to something here. He's talking about inflation, right? And this is kind of related to how woke supremacy is dying. And it's going to be a little bit of a slow death, but it is going to die, and it's already on that trajectory. He was talking about inflation and money printing. As we know, money printing has caused much of the inflation in the world, despite the fact that the politicians, I mean, you want a proof never to believe them when they say, oh, the inflation has nothing to do with money printing. Like, you clearly either don't understand how economics works or you're just lying. And so I would say they're lying. But they're the largest group, and I'm not big on groups, but for the purpose of data and this conversation, we'll talk about groups. The largest group to abandon wokeism, apparently, en masse, and they're abandoning them very fast. It's just like somebody turned on a switch in the past 4 months. The largest group, apparently, are women who are mothers. Whether they're single mothers or families or whatever, it doesn't matter. That's the largest group that seems to be abandoning the woke supremacy. And, you know, he has a theory that I like. Maybe it's accurate, maybe it's not. I have a feeling he's onto something, though. So the first thing we have to understand, that despite this patriarchy bullshit, which is complete bullshit, 80%, I remember I was watching a panel years ago. Was it Hitchens or, no, I think it was Peterson, one of them. They were sourcing the data, which I can't do here because I'm just a trucker and I got to get to my truck soon. I just don't have enough time. But anyways, the premise was that 80% in the Western world, 80% of household budgets are controlled by women. Okay? That's what the data shows. Personally, I'm cool with that. I have no problem with that. In my family, it was kind of 50-50 like that. Yeah, my parents were very much equal, actually. But I do have a lot of friends whose families where, well, I shouldn't say that, because the day-to-day spending probably would have been exclusively my mom. And, the big purchases, obviously, my parents would do together and whatever. But for the most part, the premise is that 80% of household incomes are controlled by women. And I don't know many men who would have a problem with them. One of my closest friend who I've mentioned many times, who lives in Florida, an attorney, he gives the budget to his wife and says, you run it. I got to go to work and deal with all these headaches that I got to deal with at work. And you're a CPA, you deal with it. You're better than I am. And I think there's a lot of that. And I think that's just intrinsic to our nature. And it's great. I have no problem with that. But he was trying to paint a picture of what some people are going on and what he thinks in his mind. And again, I think he's onto something. The catalyst to cause the women to abandon the woke supremacy. And it's simple as this. He does it a lot more articulate, and he extends it. He explains over 20 minutes. But the general premise is that when moms go grocery shopping, let's say, for example, I think it was the example he was giving, and they're going to go grocery shopping for their family, they're considering, what does everybody want? What do their kids want? And especially when you have younger kids, I mean, I know we were like this, me and my brother were like this growing up. There's certain treats and certain things that I liked and certain meals I liked. Apparently, I'm a pain in the ass because I'm a very picky eater. I don't believe it, but that's what I keep getting told. And so imagine your mom going into the grocery store and you got to get certain cookies for one kid and a certain treat for another kid. And, your husband likes this, you like whatever, and blah, blah, blah. And you go into the grocery store, and then all of a sudden, one week, oh, wow, I can't afford whatever treat it is, or I can't afford to get to cook steak this week. We'll have to go to hamburger meat or something. And as he said, imagine that's happening week over week. You're a mom, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or a working mom, irrelevant. You're going to get groceries, you're going to provide for your family, and all of a sudden there's not sufficient money to buy what the kids want. And then you go home and you look like the asshole. Mom, why didn't you buy this? Anybody who's a mom here, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I know we were like this with my mom too, right? It was, Mom, you promised me you would get these cookies. Why didn't you get them? Oh, or, Mom, I like these. Why couldn't we have it? And how embarrassing would that be as a mother to say, we just can't afford what I normally would buy? And the kids don't understand. My kids don't understand economics and budgeting and whatever. And their husband will also... That's rumors. Rumors I'm a fussy eater. I'm not a fussy eater. But... So, and imagine your husband says, says to you, why aren't we having normal meals? Why are we having hamburger all the time or whatever? And she says, well, we can't afford it. And he doesn't know. He says, well, why don't you just buy it somewhere else? And then friction starts within the family. And that's the very real implication of inflation, which is what the woke supremacists have caused. They've caused moms to be embarrassed and look like a-holes to their families who doesn't care about them, and their kids are getting upset because they can't get just kind of the basic treats that they want. I know this is a very first world problem. I get that. But we're also living in an era where poverty is almost wiped out around the world. My friends in South America live very much the Western lifestyle there. Some of them are two-income families. Many of them are not. It's like living in the 50s and 60s with some of my friends in South America. That's just how they are. So now they go to the grocery store. They'll go to Jumbo or whatever to buy food, and then all of a sudden they can't buy their families and their kids just the basics of what they want that makes them happy. Or maybe they'll cut back on their lunches that they take to school, or they can't have Jell-O in their lunch anymore, or whatever. How embarrassing would that be, and how stressful would that be to mothers that are trying to do their part in providing for their families? And when they realize this inflation is caused by all this woke BS of throwing money to any special interest group that bitches and complains, or the loudest group that complains about their race because they're all obsessed with race, that it's going to them instead of keeping our economy stable so they can buy the basic foods and treats that their family wants, so it keeps their family together, right? And I think, so that's Scott Adams' theory, and I think he's on to something. What do you think? I don't know. I when you paint that picture and you walk through that process, you have to have sympathy for moms who are in that situation, and moms and dads who are helping to provide as well. And that the kids who are, assuming they're younger kids, just don't understand all of a sudden the things they like are taken away. And for those of you who've had kids, I know how I was as a kid. I'd be going to the kitchen and rummaging around when I was 6, 7, 8 years old and just starting to pick up treats and stuff. My parents were very liberal, allowing us to do whatever we wanted, right? And then all of a sudden things aren't there. I would be like, well, Mom, why aren't you buying this? Did I do something wrong? So I thought it was a very good point. Scott Adams talks about this. I don't remember which podcast, but it was really good. So I think that's going to be kind of the death nail to the woke supremacy, to the Trudeau woke supremacy, to people like Krista Friedland, who are encouraging money printing in mass that's targeting mothers and families. That is Krista Friedland, a mother. She doesn't have to worry, right? She sucks on the you-know-what of the government, and she has a very privileged lifestyle. One of the most privileged people in the world who waves the victimization flag. It's just ironic. It's ironic. And what's she doing? She's targeting mothers and families. Okay. All right. It is what it is. Beth says, Amanda says, I'm a single mom. I had no choice but to teach my son. We couldn't afford some things. It sucks to have to teach my child that. Exactly my point. So, Amanda, imagine you're plugged in politically, so you understand, right? But imagine you're somebody who knows nothing about politics, doesn't care about politics, which is, I think, the vast majority of people in the Western world. And you all of a sudden find out that, hey, I can't afford stuff because Justin Trudeau's a woke supremacist and he's making my dollars buy less money. I don't know how that works, but I'm done with this. Sorry, I'm out. So I think that's kind of what's going on. But anyways, Amanda, it's good to teach your child this. It is, for sure. We need to learn to appreciate the little things in life and the extras. Budgeting is important. Learning how to manage money is important, for sure. But when you have a little kid, I wouldn't listen to that when I was a 6, 7-year-old kid. Like, I wouldn't be able to conceptualize it, right? So it's important to teach that, but at the same time, understand that kids really aren't going to be able to absorb it the same way as an adult, right? So I don't know. If you think I'm completely wrong and a misogynistic pig or whatever, I'm not. I love women and very much am very much on board with women having as much freedom as possible. So, call me whatever names you want. Anyways, so I think that as much as that scenario shows the negativity of what some people are going through right now, the positive is people are now waking up. Remember, we were complaining for years, why can't people wake up for the past few years? People can't see what's happening in front of them. The normies who are not politically engaged, they don't know what's happening. And it was frustrating for all of us. Now they're waking up. Now, they're not going to wake up and go scream on Twitter. They're just going to wake up and change how they vote. They're going to wake up and change how they support what they support. They're going to wake up and talk to other people. In this example I gave you, other moms and other families. What are they going through? Are they seeing the same thing? And then woke supremacy is dead. It's our job to explain to them, for them to understand that it's woke supremacy that has led to this. So I'm trying to reply to Karen Trottier, but can't. Is this the post handle controlled differently because it's about the convoy? I don't understand what that means, but maybe that's part of an earlier conversation. I don't know. Jesse gives me a smiling face. Single parents and low-income earners are all suffering right now. That's right. That's who's being targeted by Justin Trudeau, woke supremacy, Joe Biden, the guy who just got elected in Chile, Petro in Colombia. Petro in Colombia is even worse. He wants to tax the poor at the same level as the wealthy. It's more complicated than that, but he wants to introduce taxes to people who were tax exempt because they were so poor. Is the best way to describe it. And now you have Lula in Brazil, although Lula, when he was as corrupt as he is, when he was leading Brazil, for a leftist, he wasn't that bad. He wasn't a hardcore leftist. Will remain to be. I mean, listen, I'm Bolsonaro all the way, but we'll see what happens. So I think Lost Ben on YouTube. What'd I do? Did I do something wrong? Am I upsetting people? I'm trying not. I'm just trying to talk straight, right? So anyways, it is what it is. So the fact that this is happening and people are waking up, that's your positive white pill, right? All the screaming and yelling we thought we would have to do online, like shake people, wake people up, we don't have to worry. They are waking up. And things are going to get a lot better. And the era of woke supremacy is over. Which brings me to what I've discussed on here a few times is, I was trying to get there with my friend who I was talking to last night, who's, doom and gloom. We didn't get that far because I just had so many other things to do and I had to cut it short. We're talking for like a half hour. But leads me back to this strategy that I use, which is opening up my 5-minute journal in the mornings, on certain mornings, and starting with the first question. What are 3 things you're most grateful for? And I thought of 3 things today. So the 3 things that I put, so the question you ask yourself in the morning to try to get yourself into the state of gratitude is exactly that. What are 3 things that, thank you, Jesse, have an awesome day, I love you. What are 3 things that make your life that you're grateful for today? So for me, I put the fact that it's sunny and beautiful out, and it's a Sunday, and I'm going to have almost no traffic. This is the best day because I'm going to immediately, once I press stop, I'm running in my bag, putting my coat on, and going down because I go to Massachusetts. It's a little bit farther, and I want to get there early because there's so much work to do. So it's beautiful out. It's sunny. There's not a cloud in the sky right now. It's a Sunday. I'm not going to have any traffic. I'll be able to sit there, listen to my podcast, listen to my audiobooks, be at peace, and enjoy my time. Number 2, I did a media interview yesterday that I think went very, very well. And I have a whole bunch of them lined up for this week. This all the way through January. That I'm very excited for, that are all very positive. And I just feel very fortunate and blessed to have that opportunity to kind of share a lot of the experiences we had here with people who are still have a lot of questions. Like the person I spoke to last night understood this, but also had a lot of questions and did a lot of research about me, and she was wonderful. I hope the article's wonderful. We'll see. And then the death of white supremacy. That is all coming to an end. And I'm willing to bet you 10 years from now, people are going to look at this era of this postmodern era of white supremacy as an example of when extremism takes over politics and how we cannot allow extremism on either side. But, this is all left-wing dominated, postmodern, subjectivism. This is what happens when extremist subjectivism takes over our society. It becomes a dumpster fire and it destroys the society. And I think we're all going to realize that, and people will talk openly about that in the future. That's something to be grateful for. So I do think we're heading into, as Stephen Hicks and I discussed it a couple of years ago over coffee, this Enlightenment 2.0 is on the horizon. It's a little bit of ways, but we're going to get there. It may take a few years, but we're going to get there. And Elon Musk, what you're seeing with Twitter and exposing what we were all subjected to for the past several years, is just another step in that journey. And it's a big step and a pivotal step, as well was this. So, stocking stuffers, I hope, please get this to your leftist friends at work. Hopefully they won't burn books, although leftists are known for burning books like they did in Germany in the 1930s. But hopefully one or two of them will read it. And hopefully they'll get into the first couple of paragraphs and they'll be hooked. And maybe this will help change some minds. So, okay, I got to run. There's so many comments here. I can't read them all. I'm going to have to go read them later. Sonia, 100%. Peace, love, unity, freedom, and hope. Erasing tradition, culture, faith, freedom, choices, basic morality principles lead to social divisions, and that division will lead to family chaos, and relationships will fall apart. Agreed. And I think we all understand that. And I think the big thing is now, there's even people on what we would describe, although, I keep using this, but I don't like it. Just for simplicity, the left-right divide. There's even people on the left that are now understanding that, okay, this has gone way too far. In the celebrity world, you could look at somebody like Bill Maher as an indicator of it. I disagree with a lot of his opinions, and he doesn't seem to understand it's his own worldview that's led to the chaos. But okay, fine. But life is a journey, and discovery is a journey. And he's now understanding that, okay, this has gone way too far, and it's got to stop. So we're going to be good. Just give it some time, and let's stay positive. Anyways. Okay, it's late. I got to run. I wanted to make this short today. I didn't. But I love you all. You're the best. Please be kind to people. Be good to people. Go out of your way to put a smile on somebody's face. I know it sounds really corny and cheesy, but I don't know. It makes me be at peace. It's the reason all the frustration and stress in Ottawa during the convoy didn't get to me. It still doesn't bother me. I couldn't care less because I'm centered and positive, and I know I can get through anything, and you can as well. And it starts with just being as kind as possible to people. And I believe me, if you're doing that, you already know it makes a huge impact on your life and your psychology. So I love you all, and I will talk to you soon. Wish me luck, and we'll talk again this week.